So our buddies over at Horns 24/7, though, back to what I was talking about, they had a report today. Chip Brown has a report today. In fact, I printed it off. Not going to read the whole thing. You can go there and read it for yourself. I believe it's free for everyone to read there. But the AD at Texas, Chris Del Conte, told the football team, and this is a quote now from Chip Brown's piece over at horns247.com. Texas AD Chris Del Conte told the football team this week there will be a football season, according to multiple team sources. The piece goes on. Del Conte met with the players this week and told them football will happen even if it starts in January or February of 2021, one team source said. Piece continues. The indication internally is July 1st is the earliest the football team could return to campus to start working out and taking part in non-contact workouts. This is per a source. This is not a direct quote from Del Conte to Chip Brown per se, but I'm telling you right now, Chip Brown's about as plugged in as anyone out in Austin, Texas, so you can take this to the bank. I'm going to read a few more things here, then I'm going to get to my points on this. The football team was told there will be an attempt to play the season in front of fans, which could mean delaying the start of the season as late as January or February if necessary. Reason? The complete loss of the 2020 football season is, of course, worst-case scenario and would put every athletic department, including even the biggest revenue-producing programs, into a financial pinch that could result in the reduction of some scholarship sports. I still think, up until recently, maybe even including now, what's being most understated in this entire situation, when we're talking about is it going to come back, when is it going to come back, how readily would they just allow a football season to vanish? They can't. That's the whole point. Even the biggest revenue generators out there, even the huge brand names, the ones you see coast to coast, they're not in a situation where they can afford to lose a football season. They're not. Okay, Akron's not, Cincinnati's not, but neither is Texas, neither is Alabama, neither is USC. None of them are. So it's going to happen at some point. I told you a week and a half ago, I think it was on the Sunday show, I had talked to some administrators that very afternoon, and they said, short of, a deep impact or Armageddon type scenario where an asteroid just completely takes us out, if status quo largely remains here, and COVID-19 is what we're dealing with, so the enemy's right there, we're going to make a season happen. Just don't know how it's going to happen. Don't know when it's going to start, if it's going to be in front of fans. But they've got to make it happen. So now, here's what the most difficult challenge is. Synchronicity is going to be the first hurdle that everyone has to clear. Synchronicity meaning this. College football is not just this monolithic organization in which everyone moves at the same pace and everyone operates according to the same drumbeat. You've got conferences. You've got even a wide geographic region within a conference. Think about what the difference is right now in being in West Virginia versus being in the middle of Oklahoma. Well, those states house teams from the same conference, that being the Big 12. Synchronicity, and by that I mean this, is the biggest hurdle. What is right now a reality and what could 4 months from now be a reality in the state of Washington may be radically different than what's happening in the state of Indiana, which also could mean Indiana's governor, doctors in the state, and everyone of a dignified role that has a say in this could end up giving Indiana the check mark, you're good to go. It could be 2 months later for a state like Washington, Oregon. I'm just picking names out of a hat. I'm not educated as to who could get the green light first, but what happens there? Let's say the entire, just for the sake of argument, let's say the entire Big Ten footprint was given the green light. You guys are good to go. Everything's cleared. We feel safe. You guys can open camp July 1st. And there are still 5 out of 12 teams in the Pac-12 whose states and whose universities maybe and local dignitaries have not given them the green light. How do we work that? How does that operate? So you got to have synchronicity. That's the first thing, and that's a really, really big hurdle that has to be overcome. Secondly, I have heard a lot of people talking about this empty stadium issue and what it would be like if we had to play games in an empty stadium. I heard Lane Kiffin this last week talking about how he just doesn't think it would happen. I've heard other head coaches. I've heard some folks in the media. I have spoken about this on this show, and I have told you, and I'll tell you again, I don't think that it's going to come to that. I think a lot's going to change over the next few months, and I'm going to end with that. But what I'm going to tell you next sort of sounds hypocritical, Ignore everything folks in the media say about empty stadiums. Ignore what coaches say. Ignore what players say. Pay attention only to what administrators say. They are the ultimate decision makers, even some of them who tell you doctors are going to make that decision. If a doctor came up to a bunch of university presidents and said, let's hold off until 2025, they'd laugh him out of the building. So ultimately, regardless of what people say, within reason, ADs and university presidents are going to make the call here. They understand how to look at college football as a television product. And so for the sake of this conversation, don't think about college football as you would normally think about it. The way you have to think about it in times like these is like a TV show. And if they can get the studio open, like we've done right now, there's no one else in this entire building. Normally there would be 1,000 people in here right now, but it's me and Colin. But we were able to get in the studio thanks to our overlords at CBS Sports granting us essential personnel access. So we're able to put on a show, therefore we're doing a show. If they can get stadiums open, if they can get players physically on campus, if they can get the necessary boxes checked, if they can travel and figure that stuff out, there's going to be a season. Because contrary to some very, very popular people's tweets yesterday, it is not in-stadium, at-the-gate revenue that matters nearly as much as TV contracts matter here. And the TV contracts are fulfilled as long as you give the TV a product to put on. So that's first and foremost in the minds of administrators and athletic directors and presidents. I don't care that it's going to be weird. Well, I do care, but it's not going to matter if it comes to this, whether it's going to be weird or it's going to change the dynamic or it's going to take away the passion and the pageantry. Everyone knows that. This is not a world in which you get a great choice and a terrible choice. Sometimes you get a terrible choice and a not so good choice. And that may be what we deal with in the fall. We'll see. I still believe time is our best friend here. I still believe a lot is going to change. Think about where we are right this second. We are April 16th right now. April 17th, 18th, 19th. So this Saturday was going to be the big spring football Saturday. A lot of the big teams were, I know Alabama was this Saturday, Georgia was this Saturday. A ton of teams were going to have their spring game this Saturday. Think about when it's a regular season, it's a regular year, think about coming out of that spring game, that G-Day game or that A-Day game, and then think about how long it seems there is until the season gets here. Okay, nothing's changed. Time, although relative, is still a constant. We still really do have that long until the season. We have got, from this Saturday, we would have like 90 days until media days. That's in early July. We would have, and still do have, well over 110, 120, 25-ish days until camps would open. Do you know how much can change? Do you know how much those data, really the data that is ingested by models and produce those models, do you know how much that can change? Do you know how much narrative can change? Perception can change? A lot can change. Think about where we were 3 weeks ago versus today. Suffice to say, a lot's changed, right? You're still sitting at home, so that hasn't changed, but maybe some other things have changed. That's going to continue to happen. So time is on our side, whereas normally you want to burn it at both ends in order to get to the season. Right now, I don't think anyone's in a particular hurry. We need as much time as possible between us and the season to hopefully let this play out. But narrative is going to shift. Facts are going to continue to shift that narrative. Hopefully, more facts come to light than what is currently coming to light. And I think that ultimately, I have a feeling we'll be okay. We'll see. I absolutely have a feeling we'll have a regular season, though, a 2020 season, even if it spills over into 2021.